Hey guys, Jaryd Krause, host of the Buying Online Businesses podcast. And do you want to buy your website and then grow it with really good SEO? And I'm talking about white hat SEO tactics. Well, I speak to Matt Diggity from Diggity Marketing, who is a genius and reverse engineers the algorithms to really understand and comprehend how to do good SEO. And he's a really sought after SEO specialist. And you'll tell when you listen to this actual episode where we discuss what type of on-page SEO you should be doing, what type of off-page SEO you should be doing, what type of links you should be getting into your site, and how to build those backlinks to your website. We also talk about how to make really good content that's SEO friendly, and how the compounding effect of doing good SEO can really help you grow your website business for the long term. We also talk about how to prepare and have your site ready for Google algorithm updates so you don't get affected. So if you want to learn how to do really good SEO for your site and bulletproof yourself towards growth, be sure to listen to this episode. Hey again, guys, Jaryd Krause, host of the Buying Online Business podcast, and thanks for tuning in again. We have another really good episode and a great guest. We have Mr. Matt Diggity from Diggity Marketing. Welcome, Matt, and thank you so much for jumping on.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thanks a lot for having me.
So, Matt, you're a full-blown SEO specialist, and sometimes we were just talking off air that you can geek out in SEO, and that's awesome because that's a really particular skill to have to grow businesses. And for everybody listening, Matt's from Diggity Marketing, CEO of Diggity Links, travels a lot, lives in Thailand. Now at Diggity Links, you pump out, you can pump out a money-making site every week, and you've sold any of these sites, for multiple figures and stuff like that. One client, you had a Google algorithm update, and you solved that. They had they were affected by it, right? This is what I read from you. And you turn that around to take them from 1,000 viewers to 95,000 viewers in 1 month. That's amazing. Congrats on that. So that's for everybody listening, that's a 9,000% increase.
Yeah, that's usually what it's like when someone gets penalized and gets pulled out of the ashes. Yeah, it's usually a phoenix-like reemergence.
Yeah, it's awesome. And so, Matt, you've got a lot going on. You got Affiliate Lab, you got Diggity Links, you got Authority Builders, you do the Chiang Mai SEO conference. So, and you came into this similar to what most of our audience came into this for is wanting to have a different lifestyle, right? Getting out of that JOB type life. And you've done so much since, and now people are flocking to you for SEO help to grow their sites. But for someone who has bought a site, like say somebody's going to come to you, Matt, and they're like, man, I don't know anything about SEO, but I want to grow my site with some SEO. What's the first sort of steps you'd break down their business? Like, how would you break down their business and tell them like some of the things they'd need to get started in?
Yeah, sure. That's a really good question. I just want to back up for a second. The Diggity Links business you've been referring to, yeah, I exited that one about 1.5 years ago. It's now known as Rank Club. So,
sorry,
as much as I'd still like to, yeah, all good. As much as I still like to take credit for the good work that they're doing, it's not mine anymore. But okay, so on to your question.
Yeah,
a guy just bought a website. He's excited about taking it to the next level, and his SEO knowledge is minimal. Here's how I'd probably break it down to someone. Basically, the key components of how to get a website ranked higher in Google basically comes down to two major things. Now, I'm just saying these are the major ones. There's tons of minor ones, hundreds or maybe even thousands if you want to break it down to the minutia. But content and links are the big ones. So the content you write, how you write it, is it keyword researched? Is it optimized? Is it linked to correctly on your website? This is all the content and what we call on-site SEO. That's the actions you take on your own website, on-site SEO, right? And then another part of it is off-site SEO, which is backlinks. So what other websites on the internet are linking to your pieces of content, which is essentially works as like a vote for Google. This is a vote from one website to another that this content is so good that I'm going to tell my readers that it's good. And that's a signal to Google that this is something worth ranking higher. Which portion of these are like the more important right now in Google? I would say content. It wasn't always this way, but content is getting more and more important because Google's able to understand content better. As the algorithm gets smarter, they can actually infer things like sentiment and is this a cheery piece? Is this a dismal piece? They can read a lot of stuff. And they can put a lot of things together. So content is more important than backlinks. At what percentage? Maybe 60-40, who really knows? But it'll continue to go that way. I mean, eventually the algorithm will just be so darn smart. It doesn't need to look at anything but the content to figure out, is this the best recipe for meatloaf in the universe? You know, like that's the way it'll go. But that's where I'd start. And of course, all these paths, like if we want to break down backlinks, we can talk about how fast do you build the backlinks, where the websites come from, how do you get these backlinks, all these different minutia, but that's the really, really high level.
Yeah. And like we'll dig into backlinks and all that sort of stuff. Like who do you get the backlinks from and how is that going to build your site's SEO and link juice, if they're still calling it link juice. So you mentioned content. Like I just recorded an episode with another Matt. He's an Aussie guy who's scaled his dropshipping site up. And he doesn't really do much SEO, but he said he does focus on content, and that's on-page SEO. And he said he's really focused on just writing really good content for the actual user to consume it. And he's kind of letting Google decide what to do with it and how they're going to rank it. Now, would you say now that the Google algorithm is pretty advanced in a way that they could sort of track how long people are spending on each page and determining the value of the content that way? Or how do you believe at the moment the algorithm, and this is subject to change, everybody listening as well, but how do you believe that's allowing sites to be ranked differently in Google by how good your content is?
Right. Yeah. So they're definitely tracking and taking note of things like dwell time, which is like how long someone stays on a page. And that's how they figure out whether users like things or not, right? Like to what extent do they track and keep all that data? That's up for debate. But a lot of people have the theory that, you know, like keeping track of like visitor, like go to this page. And if they click off immediately, does that really mean they didn't like the content? Or maybe they just got their answer right away? So that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing if someone leaves the page right away. It might mean it was such a good piece of content and answer the person instantly, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of philosophies about it and how it works and stuff. But there's an algorithm that Google's working on right now. It's their machine learning algorithm. Maybe some people call it AI, and that's Rank Brain. And so that will do stuff like, okay, let's figure out if someone types in the word monkeys, right? Like, is that someone searching for the band from the 50s, 60s, or is that someone searching for the animal, right?
Yeah.
So then they might be able to figure out whether that was correct or not to serve the monkey or serve the band based on, you know, how long are people staying on those pages, right?
Yeah.
So in some sense, they are doing that, but I don't think it's a major form of the algorithm. I would say it's a small fraction on whether they decide if they should rank something or not. I mean, we have to think too, like everything that's outside page one gets no traffic. So how can they use that algorithm on things that won't ever get a chance to expose that to the algorithm?
Yeah, for sure. And so for somebody who's like, all right, cool, Matt, I've got it's best to probably focus on content for now. And they want to kind of make that content SEO friendly and be good for their on-page SEO. What are some of the starting points that they would need to do to ensure their content is SEO friendly, should you say?
Right. So the name of the game in SEO, it's always been this way and it'll always continue to go this way, is it's a one-up game. Like you're always just trying to one-up each other, right? The cool thing about doing SEO is you're playing poker with a whole bunch of other people on the internet, but you can see all their hands, right? If I want to rank for what is the best protein powder, then I can simply go to page one and see what are people already talking about, how are they writing it, etc. So it's about reverse engineering the competition, looking to see how many words did they write. That's super important.
Yeah.
What are the subtopics that they discussed in order to break down the query? So let's say the query is, how do I lose belly fat, right? So you could look at the content ranking on page 1 and see, okay, these guys are talking about in their subheadings, you need to avoid trans fats, you need to eat more fiber, you need to do sit-ups, all these kind of things. So in order to rank on page 1, I need to talk about those things too. So you get the word count right, you get the subtopics right, and then you write an amazing piece of content that covers these kind of things, and then you optimize it. Like, so a lot, like your buddy Matt, and I'm sure he's doing a great job. Like, a lot of people think that you write for the user and everything will work out, but at the end of the day, Google's not quite there with being able to understand what users want and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So you still do need to write and optimize for the robot. And there's different algorithms out there. Like, people argue about which one's correct and which one's not. TF-IDF, Word2Vec, all these algorithms which compare your piece of content and how many words are what words you have on the page and their frequency versus other people on page 1. And I like to optimize like that. I still believe that it's a robot reading my stuff, not a human, and the robot decides these kind of things. So I'm an ex-engineer, so like I'm always going to approach it like that until I think the AI is just beyond me trying to even trick it anymore.
Yeah, I love what you said about go away and looking at what other people on page 1 are doing with their content. And I've said this before as well, where a lot of my clients buy businesses, and I say, go away and look at your competition and see what they're doing and see how they're adding value to the market and use that. And there's a quote, I don't know who said it, but it's like, good artists copy, great artists steal. And I mean, you're trying to add, if you look at it, depends on how you look at it psychologically, but if you're trying to actually help somebody with your business and add value, finding out what their problems are and what their answers are they actually want, and then writing really good content around that, you're solving a really good problem there.
Right. I completely agree. And like, from a teacher's perspective, like your own perspective as well. And I get this a lot too. Like, I always tell people, look at the people on page 1, look at your competition. But the skill, what is developed over time, is just knowing what to look for. And I think folks like you and I, that's our job to point out, okay, these are the things that you're looking at for word count and, like value add that people are adding to e-commerce businesses, that kind of stuff. Like, I don't know. Like, I haven't never been in the e-commerce game, so I have no idea. I think I'm supposed to do an abandoned cart email series. Like, I don't know,
That's the thing.
That's the thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So say, like, we've worked out we need to optimize it still for the bots and for the algorithm. And we kind of want to optimize that content in a specific way. Like, obviously keywords is a huge thing. Is there anything else that in how you would sort of try and get your clients to optimize their content for the bots as well, rather than just being really good value?
Yeah, well, I mean, at the end of the day too, I would say the major things is, optimizing for the bots, get the words on the page, get the subtopics on the page covered, right? Mm-hmm. Do all that stuff, make sure it's the right word count, all the stuff we kind of talked about before.
Yeah.
But then the other goal is to make sure that people are staying on the page, to satisfy the other part of the algorithm that's looking at dwell time and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So engaging first paragraph, there's different ways to write your first paragraph. I like to break it down into 3 different techniques. Like, one is I just shock them with data. Like, I'm going to teach them something new in the first paragraph that's going to make them feel like if they keep reading, they're going to get more new stuff. So maybe I'll toss out some fact or some interesting piece of research that's unlikely that they've ever read before.
Yeah.
Or another approach, I call this one the entertainer, is I would, just try to joke around with them. I'll just make sure like they feel like they're going to have fun no matter what they read.
Yeah.
And the last one would be, I call this one fear factor. It's just like, if they don't read this, they're going to find out something, or they're going to miss out on something huge, or they're going to buy something that's faulty or something like that. So it's really important to start that off right and make sure people stay on the page. There's different techniques, copy techniques for this, but those are the 3 main that I usually mess with is the entertainer, the the t-shirt and the fear factor one. So
Fear
getting
factor
people,
one.
yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
You go, sorry.
Yeah. So then after they read the first paragraph, like this is the age of attention deficit disorder, right?
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
Most people don't read content anymore, like
Yeah.
unless they're really, really into the article. Like even I don't read all the SEO articles I see come out, I'll start skimming. So I usually read the first paragraph and then I'll start scanning down to see the things that I want to see. And that I need stuff like headings and I need images to pop out. I need tables, I need graphics, stuff like that to keep me going down the page. So it's about putting these eye-catching magnets on the page that'll keep the scroller scrolling until they see the things that they want to see. So those two things, and obviously you want to, at the end of the day, you want to convert, right? So what's your goal on the page? I like to use this philosophy, one page, one goal. I don't want to have a page with affiliate links here, sign up for the email letter here,
Advertising.
yeah, all over the place. Like I believe one page, one goal, and then I'm focusing on various CRO, conversion rate optimization disciplines to make that happen.
Yeah. So everybody listening, that one page, one goal thing means like what should you have a goal with that piece of content? And it's the CTA, which is called a call to action. And it's imperative. Otherwise you're writing a piece of content and then people will finish it and they're looking like what's next. You've always got to give somebody a next step. And that is like your call to action. Here, grab this, free resource, or, read my next blog post on this, which is very irrelevant or whatever it is. So they're really good. And I love how you say keeping people engaged with the images, because I'm testing around with my copy and landing pages and stuff like that, always split testing, just like you. Do you ever, for your clients that come to you and they want to write really good content, do you ever tell them like it's really worthwhile studying copywriting at least a little bit to use some of that throughout their articles?
Oh yeah, man. Like it makes a huge difference. I mean, the thing with clients is, they're running their own businesses. They're a vape shop, they're producing vape pens, all these things. Like they hired us to do the marketing, that kind of stuff. I think everyone sees the inherent value of SEO and that kind of stuff, but copyright might be different. And then there's a balance too. Do you write for like copy and sales, or do you write for the search engines, which don't always go in line with each other? In fact, they conflict most of the time.
Yeah, right.
But I would say there's some basics that you want to cover with your copy. Like always, like there's a reverse pyramid approach where you give them most of the value up front. Like if you have a list of the 10 best things to do in this city, you're going to start with the best one at the top to get people to keep reading. You don't want to start with the worst one. People are like, this article sucks, right? There's techniques called bucket brigades where you might insert a line that says, and then this data would suggest that people should do this or this or that. We'll talk more about that later. So that puts a footnote in someone's mind that, okay, I need to finish this article. I need to complete this loop, right? So there's all these different tricks with the copy to keep people on the page, and you should definitely know the bare minimum of it. I wrote a very user-friendly, a very newbie-friendly article on SEO for copy and conversion, and it sums up like the bare essentials, like that even someone who doesn't have time to learn that stuff could learn from.
Yeah, awesome. I might grab the link from you for that and put that in the show notes as well. And so a lot of that's on page. And one of the last sort of things of on page is obviously keywords. Like, do you do much teaching about keywords and how to find really good, relevant keywords that are going to help people get ranked higher? Is that something you're really into?
Yeah, I mean, that's the foundation like of SEO's keyword research. Like if you're going to write a 10,000 word article about hoverboards, like do you want it to rank for 3 keywords or 3,000? Like, and that's the difference. If you do proper keyword research, you can find all them. And these days it's great. Like we have software now. Ahrefs is what I'm using right now.
Yeah.
And you can reverse engineer the competition. You can just see, here's all the keywords all my competition uses. There's no guessing. There's no difficulty in it. You can pull that out in a matter of seconds.
Yeah. So you would suggest anybody doing keyword research to use Ahrefs. Is there anything else that you'd kind of recommend they do to find really good relevant keywords?
So there's keyword research, and for keyword research, that's finding keywords with search volume. What are the words I need to write on my page that people are actually searching for?
Yeah.
So there's that part, but there's also words I need to write on the page in order to cover the topic. So there's various softwares that do it. Right now I'm using Surfer SEO. It's a game changer. But basically what that's going to do, it's going to look at the other guys on page one. It's going to see they've obviously, like, let's say use the like DIY lawyer New York or something like that. That's a keyword I want to rank for. So obviously they got the words DIY on the page, lawyer, attorney, New York, NYC, all that kind of stuff, all those variations. Those are keywords. Those are what people are typing in and searching for. But all the people on page one, they're also using the word judge and court and hearing and date and sentence and all these words that people aren't searching for, but they're necessary to write the article. So that's a huge part of it, and definitely check out Surfer SEO. It's awesome.
So what do you call that? Finding words that so you find your keywords and then you call finding those other words. What do you call that? Are they just words that need to be in or should be in your post or your articles and your content that's going to help you get ranked?
Yeah, everyone's calling it something different these days.
Yeah.
Like I'd say the industry standard on what people are calling it is TF-IDF. It stands for term frequency, inverse document frequency. It's like an algorithm from the 70s that kind of describes this whole thing. But yeah, like something like that. But yeah, Surfer's calling it true density. It doesn't really matter. You just need to do this thing, whatever we're calling it.
So this is from the 70s.
Yeah. It's like it's like an algorithm that like tries to rank different documents. A document could be anything, a web page, just anything, based on the frequency of different words showing up on the page.
Yeah, wow, cool.
Yep.
So that's a lot of on-page stuff. Now, the big one is link building, and like with what I do is I'm trying to build some really good links through having people come on and podcasting and writing different articles as well, and getting on other people's podcasts and writing other posts for other people. And that's what I'm doing at the moment. And it's helping me build really good links. But for people listening, they want to start building some links for a site that they've just bought. What's their first sort of approach? Like, now gone are the days where people are like, hey, can I write a guest post? And you try and get a link. What are some of the ways that are smarter approaches to do just that?
So, there's tons of ways to build links. If you're a new time website buyer and it's your first forte in SEO, there's different paths. And the first path, you're going to have to decide, should I go white hat SEO, black hat SEO, gray hat SEO? To be safe, just stay on the white hat side. And what does white hat mean? White hat means you're following Google's terms of service and you're getting links from websites through kosher means. Like gray hat SEO would mean like you're buying websites and you're using them as link farms to link to yourself. Black hat SEO, hacking and all that kind of stuff. So stay in the white hat range for purpose of this conversation. It's going to keep people in the least trouble. So basically, there's various forms of white hat outreach for links. And when I say outreach, it's normally the process of reaching out to other websites that you find relevant, that have some power themselves. They have a bunch of backlinks themselves. And you want to link from. So you got to figure out what their email address is, and then you got to figure out your value proposition, because people just don't link for nothing, right? Maybe in some small cases, if you write an amazing piece of content that is universally amazing, right? Maybe you've added a certain amount of data to your article that no one's ever seen before. Maybe it's an article about like, I don't know, how to lose weight, but you showed some surveys from last month that showed like all these different demographics and the best way to lose weight for each of these body types and all this different stuff. Like that's pretty damn valuable. And you might be able to get some links from other articles that are talking about fitness and stuff like that. So you'd reach out to them, you let them know you have this article and et cetera. But as you were alluding to, Jaryd, like there's also guest posting, and guest posting is still very much alive, right? So one approach I use for guest posting, and what guest posting is you reach out to someone and say like, hey, I'd like to write a piece of content for your site. Here's where I've been published before. I write great content, whatever. And then it's kind of like an understanding that in that piece of content, you're going to have a link back to your own site. Like that's just how the industry works. And that's something that website owners know.
Yeah.
So one technique I've been using is like, I know how to do keyword research. I know how to figure out what can rank on websites, right? So I'll actually, before I write the guest post, I'll go reach out to people and I'll say like, hey, I found some keywords that your competitors are ranking for, and they don't have as much authority than you. It's an easy keyword, and I'm sure you could probably dominate it. I'd like to write this article for you and optimize it for you. Here's an example of where I've already done this. You see, they're number one for this keyword, right?
Yeah.
I almost never get shot down for that one.
That's awesome. Coming from a place of authority as well is a huge value add. So say somebody was a rookie and they bought a store on some sort of, they're selling fishing products or whatever, and they find there's a fishing magazine, online fishing magazine, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, and just maybe add to this if there's better approaches. Would you say it'd be good for them to say, or find some really good value on how people can catch a certain fish with certain lures or hooks or fishing line or whatever it is? I don't know much about fishing, but say they come to this magazine and say, hey, I've found this really cool way that you can catch more fish. A couple of my clients are doing so using this special lure, blah, 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 blah. I'd love to write this article because I believe it could add so much value to your magazine and your audience. What do you think? And then maybe you do a link, and then maybe even could do a JV with them, selling one of your lures or something as a call to action. Would you say that's a good approach?
Yeah, that's all. Especially, it's all about the value add. Like at the end of the day, you need to write these pitches as you're pitching. Like it should all be about them. It should be all about what they'll gain out of it. If it's simply, I'll write an article for you that your viewers might like, that's a pretty low on the value scale. Like they're probably getting about 10 to 15 of those a day already, right?
Yeah.
So like doing what Jaryd said, like, upping the ante and saying like, yeah, we could do a JV. I can give you commission on these lures. Like that's awesome. Telling them you can rank something for them. That's awesome. And, at the end of the day, this is the day and age where webmasters know their value. Money talks. Like you're usually going to be countered with, sure, we can do that. It's going to cost X amount of money.
Yeah. Excellent. And so with that, like talking about link juice and all that sort of stuff. Like if I get a link, say like I write an article for Entrepreneur or something like that, Huffington Post, and they link back to my site, typically it's known that they're going to boost my SEO up a little bit. Like how does that work? Is there like this link juice sort of thing? Is it something that people should strive for, is just go for the juggernaut of the big fishing company or the big fishing magazine straight away? And like how do people start creeping up to get more valuable links? Like what's the difference between links and value, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it does. I like to break it down in like 3 different categories. Like a link can provide one of 3 different things: relevance, trust, and power. And you can get all of these things from the same link, or you can get them all from different sources. But your link profile needs to contain all 3 of these things.
Yeah.
Let's break these down. We'll get to what you said about link juice last because it's the easiest to conceptualize.
I'm loving this. This is great. I'm taking notes.
Yeah, so relevance, right? Like relevance is super easy to get because anytime you get a link from any website, that website's gonna have a theme involved with it. Like it's a site about fishing. You get a link from a site about fishing and an article about fishing, guess what? Google thinks you're a little bit more about fishing. Boom, done. Okay, now I got some relevance going to my site. Now trust is a little bit more, I don't know, nebulous. Like we don't really know the statistics or the algorithm or the math on how Google determines a site is trustworthy. Anyone can say, like you were mentioning, get the link from the New York Times or Forbes or, Huffington Post.
Yeah.
They're big websites. It's hard to get those links probably. So that should probably give you a certain amount of trust.
Yeah.
The way I look at it is simply get links from websites that Google ranks themselves. So Google's super stingy about their rankings. There's only 9% of the internet has traffic, significant levels of traffic. So if there's that stingy with the website, they're going to evaluate the crap out of it. Of course, they're okay with its outgoing backlinks if they're ranking it high already. So we stick to sites that are in our niche. So they're about fishing, that also rank themselves. They get the rank and they got some traffic themselves. You can also see that with these online tools. Then now we have relevance and trust. So we're getting links from the small portion of the internet that has rankings themselves too. Now we're trustworthy.
Yeah.
Now power. So power is what we're talking about when you're talking about link juice. There's an old algorithm called PageRank. It's one of the, it's what probably the algorithm that made Google, and they were able to pull ahead of, Yahoo and all these other search engines and stuff like that. So PageRank is basically a measure of how powerful are your links. How many links do your links have, right? So if I have a link that has 25 links already going to it versus another link that only has one link going to it, this one gives me more power. This one gives me more link juice or page rank, whatever you want to call it. So if I got a link from Huffington Post, that might be on a brand new page. And if it's brand new, it doesn't have any links going to it. So the power might be low, but there's still internal power you're getting from Huffington Post. Huffington Post links to the articles and the nav bar and all this other stuff. So you're still getting some juice from that.
Yeah.
But if it's a no follow backlink, meaning they marked it no follow, it's kind of like this is plumbing and they just turned off the valve going there. So you're not going to get any power for it or minimal power.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Like for power, I recommend, getting links from articles that already exist and already have links going to them. So that's, you're doing outreach and you're saying like, hey, I really enjoyed your article on the top 10 coffee shops in Brisbane. I have a coffee shop. We just opened. This is what we did. Can we get included here? That article's been up for 5 years. It's got links going to it. That's a great source of power. So all these things come together and your rankings are going to go up as long as your content is good.
Man, that's so great. And so a question around having people linking back into your site, would you try and get them to link back to the same page? And that you say, I write like 5 different blog posts for 5 different fishing stores or 5 different restaurants in Brisbane. Would I try and get them to all link back to the homepage to boost that? What did you call it again? Relevance. Is it relevance? What was the last one? You got
relevance, trust, power.
Power, yeah. To boost that power to that page, would I try and get most of the people who link back to me with follow links specifically to link to one page to get more power? Would that be a good?
I mean, ideally, if you link to the pages that you want to rank, if you link to your service page, if you link to your e-commerce stores page where you're selling coffee mugs, whatever, like if you link directly, that's going to be the best. This hands down. There's a lot of schools of thought that you shouldn't bother doing outreach for pages that are commercial because people don't like to link to them. Yeah, I mean, that's a valid point. They don't like to link to them as much, right? So I still think it's worth it to do outreach for the pages you want to rank. And at the end of the day, I'll come completely clean. Like, I'm not afraid to pay for a backlink. I know that, SEO has these crazy ROI at the end of the journey that will pay for the whole journey itself, right? Yeah. The first month of success. So I'm not afraid to pay for backlinks. So if you pay for backlinks, you get people to do what you want them to do. Like they'll link wherever they want. They'll link fast. They'll reply to your emails, like all this stuff. So that's my philosophy. Like I don't like to go slow because I know at the end of the tunnel, it's payday. I don't know another way to say it, but the traffic is exponential in Google. If you rank number 3, getting to number 2 is twice as much traffic. Getting to number 1 for number 2 is twice as much traffic. And it works that way up the ladder. So.
And this keeps compounding, right? Like compounding interest, like a bank account. The more you put in, the more it starts to grow with interest. And that's the same thing. Like any wants any level of success in business and life is like, it's the compounding effect on the habits and the disciplines you do and the ways you try to grow yourself or your business. And that compounding effect makes it grow so much, especially with SEO, which is a really good way to think about it.
Another interesting fact too is like, not only are you getting more traffic the higher you're on Google, but people trust you more. People trust the number one ranking more, so they'll convert more when you're on the page. So it's just like, just get in there. That's the struggle. But once you're there, like, boom, it's incredible.
Pays off in droves. And so you mentioned paying for backlinks. Like, say I bought my fishing store and I'm like, all right, cool. Like, there's this fishing magazine and they're probably too big, but I'll just see if I could pay them. How would I go about approaching somebody to link to me with a paid link?
I mean, in your outreach email, the first pitch, like if you really want a response, just write in the email, how much do you charge for this? Like, that's going to improve your response rate probably 3x. But now you're in the realm of paying for links. Is this white hat SEO? Is this gray hat SEO? Who knows? This is a business decision. None of this stuff is illegal, by the way. It's not illegal to pay for links. It's just something that Google doesn't like, right? They want their rankings to be
clean.
The real, they're based on real facts. But the facts of the matter is everyone pays for links. You're paying for it with content. You're paying for it with money. The big guys are paying for it. The small guys are paying for it. If you're not being aggressive about SEO, you're just not competing.
Yeah, it's either way you look at it. Like when you pay for it in content, what you're doing is like you're still swapping, like you're actually trading, but there's no physical money transferred. It's like the barter system where I'll write this article for you if you give me this. It's just you're paying for it.
Right.
Right. And so one of the last things I want to talk about is like Google. It's the beast, and they can come and squash sites in a day. I think there was, and you may even be in the same group. There was it Dr. McCullough? Dr. McCullough had a site that had a lot of articles ranked, and some of it was to alternative health and holistic sort of health remedies and stuff like that. And I think is it Dr. Axe? It might be Dr. Axe. Yeah.
That one's been on a roller coaster recently. Yeah.
Yeah. And they just stopped ranking them. And that's a large website. Like it's got tons of articles. So I've noticed that you've talked a little bit about like how to prepare for Google algorithm updates and stuff like that. And I guess it depends on each site, and you can never be, when we talk about this, guys, you can never be too certain because Google can just come in with one foul swoop and do whatever the hell they want, right? But what, like if you were to safeguard your site as best possible, are there some things that people could do? And if there was, what do you believe they would be?
Yeah, so this is another topic. We can really, really go super deep on it. But let's say, for example, for a hypothetical situation, we have written the best piece of content. We have the best backlinks. And I'm ranked number one. Like, how can I be sure to keep that up going forward? Well, first things first is remember, like I mentioned before, SEO is a game of one-upping. So just because you got to number one, you wrote the best piece of content and got the most backlinks, and the best backlinks, number 2 through 9 million aren't happy with their positions. So they're still building backlinks. They're still looking at your content, trying to one up it. So there's a process. You got to keep link building. You keep tweaking the content, that kind of stuff. But let's say all that stuff is taken care of. You got all that dialed in. I would say the things to look out for right now with the algorithm is like Google is getting better at validating authenticity of writing and the authorship, so to speak. They're looking at different trust signals that maybe they weren't able to look at before. So taking the extra steps and making it seem like your website is a real website, a real business. It's a real entity with real ownership. If you're an e-commerce store, you need all the things. You need the privacy policy. You need the terms of service. You need a a place for people to make returns at. You need to be reachable. There should be a phone number on the page. There should be all this kind of stuff that real businesses have. And I'm really hardcore into affiliate SEO and affiliate marketing. And like one of the major pitfalls for affiliates is they don't want to have that information on the internet. Like they don't want to be bothered. They want to have that content up there and money to come in overnight. But if you take the steps to, at least make it appear, or even take the steps and make it a real business and get real authors for your articles, like that's probably going to keep you more and more safe in the future. And just another note on like Dr. Axe and all that stuff, like I'm in that same niche too. I'm in the health and fitness niche and all that kind of like holistic health type stuff and dieting and all that. Like people say it's like the hardest niche possible. And sure, it's got its ups and downs. And we got like a couple days ago, we got, humbleized a little bit. But at the end of the day, like these are the niches that Google's really like at least establishing their ground on how they're going to go after all these trust factors. But if you think a step ahead of them and you think and you analyze what are the other guys that are doing, then this niche becomes one of the easiest ones possible because all the competition is giving up.
Yeah. So you can also look at other niches and see like, what are these guys doing to allow themselves to look so much more genuine than most of the people in the health niche? And it's really about like, how do I transfer that into my niche and me do it first and be the most genuine, and then you're going to get rewarded, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you want some examples, look at healthline.com, WebMD. If you want to look in like the reviews niche, technology stuff, like the Wirecutter's amazing, like sites like that, you'll learn a lot of lessons there.
Yeah. And so you've learned so much about SEO. So you transferred in from engineering to SEO. Like, where did you start learning like all of this sort of stuff? Did you have any mentors or coaches, or you're in groups?
Yeah, right. Like when I was back in engineer, it was a terrible situation. So I was moonlighting, like trying to figure out passive income. I knew it wasn't sustainable for me in that life. So I was just trying to make passive income online. So SEO is one of the first things I found. And yeah, I started experimenting by myself, did a course, and got a couple mentors along the way, and that was critical, man. Like that's absolutely critical. I would recommend that to anybody. Find a good mentor.
Yeah.
Then I just kept plugging away, and there's been ups and downs for sure. And the biggest down happened when, I forgot my roots as an engineer. I started just trying stuff just because it sounded right, and I wasn't, testing it in a controlled environment. But that was also like a blessing in disguise. That got me back to my roots, and that's when the whole business started taking off. Is when I started looking at everything from a data perspective, not a gut feeling. Let's just read Google's terms of service and follow that like a sheep kind of thing.
Yeah. So many entrepreneurs exactly the same, right? Is they try and do this whole thing themselves and do the whole moonlighting, like you said. Like I used to do that as a plumber, and then they come across a coach or a mentor, which, by the way, guys, is like like you said, it's like probably the most important thing. And that's when I started to have the hockey stick growth. And that's the same with my clients. Is like in our community, they're just like fumbling around at the start, trying to start websites, and it's failing and not working. And then they're just like, they get in and they just go, oh, well, this is actually just do this one thing and then this one thing and this one thing, and it starts ticking up. And then, same with me, is like I started to do too many things and I forgot, like, all right, just come back to the one thing. And it's a blessing, like you say, it's a blessing in disguise, because then you go back to your coaches, your mentors, you're like, what have I done wrong here? Like, let's just go back to the basics and then start again. I think that's really important, because we all make those mistakes and lessons, right?
Yeah. Another cool thing about coaches will tell you what to do, but they also tell you what not to do. And that might seem like a small thing, but like, a new SEO is starting out, like he's going to have questions. Should I get this Fiverr gig? How about that Fiverr gig? The coach will tell you never touch Fiverr forever. And imagine how much time that'll save you. Like it's just a game changer to have someone just to prevent you from making mistakes and putting your brain energy in the things that don't work.
Yeah. Well, that mentor has probably done the Fiverr thing and made all those mistakes, just like you've made all your mistakes, and your clients, like, obviously see like, oh, well, I'm just not going to make the same mistakes as he. And you just shortcut their time, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So Matt, thank you so much for jumping on. Like, I really do appreciate it. Like, we went probably not as deep as you normally go, and we didn't get too nerdy, but that would have just been a huge brain stuff around for maybe me and maybe all of my clients and audience as well. But thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Where can people go find out more about you and what you're doing?
Yeah, diggitymarketing.com is my blog if you want to get super nerdy with me. If you want me to do your SEO for you, I have a company called The Search Initiative. So if you need help with SEO, that's our client-facing agency. If you decide you want to learn SEO, I got Affiliate Lab. So check that out. But otherwise, yeah, jump on Facebook, Twitter. You can find me pretty easily, and yeah, stay in touch.
Awesome. That Affiliate Lab's really good, guys. I had a look before, suss that out. And for everybody else that is like, you're here to buy a business, you want to grow it with SEO, but don't go away and you're not going to be able to grow it with SEO if you buy a bad listing, you buy a bad business. So make sure you're doing your research and your due diligence correctly. That's why I'm giving you guys some free tools. I've got a free due diligence framework for you guys. Go away and get it. It actually helps you, like, takes the guesswork out of due diligence. It tells you like what sort of due diligence you need to do. I've also got a website evaluator tool. Go and check that out. buyingonlinebusinesses.com/free resources. And thank you so much for listening. That's it for this episode. Those of you who did like it, please subscribe so you can get notified when more comes out. And if you did like this episode, let me know by leaving a review what you actually liked about it so I can bring more of it to the show and more guests like Matt to the show as well. Thanks again, guys. Speak to you next time.